Yeah. What's good? This is your boy Tone DeShields the second. You guys are locked in on your dose of Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. You know the vibes, you know the energy. I appreciate you guys for locking in on the show. As always, make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, man. It means a lot to me. It goes a long way. So, listen, let's just get right into it. You know, I've been sitting back lately. You know, you guys know I always do my weekly podcast with my good brother, Coach Marcus Thomas of Pro Fan Talk. He's doing great things over there. You guys know I always do my weekly podcast. And what I've been doing personally is I've been really locked in on like my day job. And also I've kind of just been trying to recalibrate and just do a hard reset, right? But you know, I saw something on Twitter. I saw something on the socials as it pertains to Saquon Barkley giving his thoughts on the Shawn Mannion hire, right? And I think it was his first time speaking out candidly about the move. We haven't really had a chance to hear from Saquon about the hire, right? We know Shawn Mannion was brought in to be the new OC for the Philadelphia Eagles after Kevin Patullo found a way to screw it up. Now, I don't think all of it was Kevin Patullo's fault. I don't. I think there was a little bit more moving parts than that, but Kevin Patullo was a big reason why that offense had a setback. I also believe another big reason for the setback on offense was just piss poor offensive line play. You had injuries all up and down the interior. You had injuries at right tackle. Lane Johnson didn't play like the last 9 or 8 games of the season, something like that. Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson were either in and out of the lineup or just flat out not as effective as we're used to seeing them be, especially Cam Jurgens. I would argue Cam Jurgens was probably the worst offensive lineman for the Philadelphia Eagles this year. But that's besides the point. Saquon Barkley spoke on Shawn Mannion, and we expect Shawn Mannion to come in and bring some kind of fresh flavor, some kind of fresh view, some sort of fresh attitude when it comes to the Eagles offense. I know a lot of people like to say, well, what can he do with this mediocre Nick Sirianni offense? And I think that's a bit of an oversimplification, no pun intended. I like to lean on guys who played this game before, right? Guys who played this game before, but also are reasonable. And Marcus says it all the time. He says these playbooks aren't that different. It's not really the ingredients. It's not even the recipe. It's the chef in the kitchen. He says that my man Marcus says there's only but so many routes you can run in football. There's only but so many ways you can block on offense. There's only but so many concepts. Now, where guys reinvent the wheel or where guys come in and do things differently is just how they view the game, how they want their players to execute. And I think when it comes to Nick Sirianni's playbook, there's plenty of plays in there to get the job done. We've seen it. But what happens is we've had inconsistent leadership at that play calling spot. We've had an inconsistent perspective. And for all the right reasons, right? You had Shane Steichen. he did a phenomenal job and he became a head coach. Can't really argue against that. Kellen Moore did a really, really good job. Can't argue against that. Became a head coach. You know, you had Brian Johnson and Kevin Patullo. Kevin Patullo obviously was the worst of the bunch. Brian Johnson, the offense started to fall flat towards the back end of the season, especially with the defense not being as effective. It seemed like everything for the Philadelphia Eagles bottomed out at the end of the season when it came to Brian Johnson. Everything bottomed out. At first, it was just a defensive problem. But then it became an everything problem. So you bring Shawn Mannion in, and Saquon Barkley says what he says about him. Saquon appeared on the Insiders. I want to say that's an NFL Network show. He was on vacation and he was promoting the Red Cross and how important donating blood is. And you know, you help people with sickle cell. You help people with blood disorders. People who need blood if they're in an accident, whatever it is. He was just promoting that, right? But he was asked about Shawn Mannion, and he said it's refreshing. He said he's super excited about it. He mentioned how, you know, they haven't really gotten a chance to get too deep into the X and O's, and most of their conversation more so pertained to just the surface introductions. But I think what I want to take away from it is, how do we expect Shawn Mannion to utilize these weapons? How do we expect Shawn Mannion to get the best out of Jalen Hurts? Like what's our expectation? And all we can really do is go off of what we've seen and then take it from there, right? Let's just stay with Saquon Barkley. Let's just stay there. Saquon Barkley said, or more so, how Saquon Barkley has been used with the Philadelphia Eagles has kind of been more so strictly as a running back. You know, Saquon really hasn't been that explosive pass catcher on a consistent basis like we were used to seeing when he was in a Giants uniform. Now, granted, Saquon Barkley's receptions and his receiving numbers have been going down year by year ever since his rookie year. I mean, he hasn't had a receiving year like his rookie year since 2018. In 2018, when he was a rookie, he put up 721 receiving yards on 91 receptions. He was their offense. And then from there, 2019, 438 receiving yards. 2020, he got hurt, so you can't even count that. 2021, 263. 2022, 338. 2023, 280. 2024, 278. 2025, 273. So these past 5 seasons, it's kind of been par for the course when it comes to Saquon Barkley being used in the passing game. Because I used to always, this is me being honest, I used to always be like, yo, why aren't they using Saquon in the passing game? Why aren't they? I used to blame the Eagles for that. I used to be like, why aren't they using him more? He's a weapon. He can do everything. But the reality is that just hasn't been the case for him the past 5 seasons. That's the truth. Hasn't been the case. Now, granted, in 2021, he only played 13 games. That's 4 games that's not accounted for. He could have probably had more receiving yards. But in 2022, played in 16 games, 338. 2023, 14 games, played 280. And, you know, 2024 and 2025 played in 16 games respectively, 278, 273. The yards per reception hasn't really gone down, right? For his career, he's averaging 7.4 yards per reception. 2025, 7.4 yards. 2024, averaged 8.4 yards per reception. 2023, 6.8. 2022, 5.9. His most explosive years from a year-to-year standpoint, his most explosive years from a yards per reception standpoint have been with the Philadelphia Eagles. And I mean as far as yardage, the yards per reception. His rookie year, 7.9 yards per reception. That's really good for a running back. 2019, 8.4. So that's really good. Like I said, 2020, he was hurt. 2021 with the Giants, 6.4 yards per reception. 2022, 5.9 yards per reception. 2023 with the Giants, 6.8. But then he gets the Eagles in 2024. That jumps up back to his normal career high at 8.4. And again, I know when you look at his stats from a career standpoint, you're going to see that 2020 season. And he was averaging 10 yards per reception. He only played in 2 games. So that year is X'd. If you take away the 2020 season where he only played 2 games and you don't have a real sample size, 2024 was a career high for him or tied his career high in yards per reception. 2025, 7.4 yards. That ranked 3rd in his highest yards per reception season. So I guess it's not really the ability, it's the opportunity. That's what it seems like to me. Because I've always felt like you give Saquon Barkley more opportunities than not with the football in his hands, he's going to do something about it. But what we've been seeing, though, is we've been seeing him drop the ball on occasion. And I can make an argument that it's just because he hasn't gotten enough of those to come his way. But regardless, when the ball touches your hands and you're a pro, you got to make something happen. So, I'm looking forward to seeing how Saquon Barkley is used in this Shawn Mannion offense. I was watching Jason Kelsey break down some film. I was watching him break down some film, and ultimately, I am curious about what Shawn Mannion brings. Now, he wasn't calling the plays in Green Bay. He wasn't calling the plays. He coached them quarterbacks, though. He has experience with dual threat quarterbacks. He's been around some pretty smart guys in Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur. Who else has been around? He's been around the Kubiaks and Kevin Stefanski, guys like that. I guess what I'm looking for from the Philadelphia Eagles is, at this point, a steady diet of consistency. A steady diet of consistency. Because that was the complete opposite of what they were last year. Like, let's be for real. I think if the Eagles were consistently playing at the same level all year long, at the very least, you know what we could have said? We could have said, damn, if these players aren't executing the same way they were last year. That at least that would have been my thought. If I would have saw consistent play with the occasional dip, because sometimes it's hard to maintain, but if I would have saw the Eagles having like a steady performance, at that point, I can point to the players and say, you know what? They're not playing up to the level they were playing at last year. They're not executing at the same level. But because we saw these really, really highs, these high highs and these really low lows, not just on a 4 to 5 game incremental basis, we saw this from quarter to quarter, half to half. We would see an explosive quarter, and then they'd be flat in another quarter. An explosive half, and then they're flat. And then they're flat again. Then they're explosive. Then they're explosive. Then they're flat. Then they're explosive. Then it was like, that was frustrating. And I have no choice but to look at the coach when it comes to something like that. The guy who's calling the plays, the guy who's supposed to be the voice on offense. People look at Nick Sirianni and they say, hey, Nick should have came in and took over, and he should have did this. He should have did that. Look, he's the head coach, man. Look, of course, everything falls on you as the head coach, but you can't be everywhere at once. And I don't want it to seem like I'm giving him an out, because he does have to wear this. Nick Sirianni, the reason the Eagles are in the position they're ultimately in is because Nick Sirianni cannot call plays, and he hasn't shown a willingness to go back into calling plays. That's the truth. And the reality is, as much as I like Nick Sirianni, I like the swagger. I like the edge to him. As much as I like that, the Eagles are going to always be in this position looking for a play caller if he can't call plays. Or if he can't be somebody that can develop a young head coach under him. Because Kellen Moore could have came back. I was talking to, who was I talking to about this? I was talking to my homie Kyrie. Shout out to my man K-Dub. Shout out to my brother K-Dub in Philly, man. Hopefully you're watching the show right now. That's my guy. Me and him was talking about Kellen Moore, right? And remember at the end of Super Bowl 59, when the Eagles were celebrating, holding the Lombardi trophy, and they was talking to Nick Sirianni. And Nick Sirianni was like, hey, Kellen, we got to run this back. We got to run this back. And Kellen Moore ultimately became the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. And to this day, I don't understand what was attractive about that job other than the fact that you play in a mediocre division and you get paid head coach money. There was nothing remotely exciting about that job. They barely had money. Now in 2026, they're in cap hell. They're in cap hell. Did you know the Saints have negative $41.7 million in cap space? And they have upwards of $90 million in dead cap? Did you guys know that? The Saints have no money. They have no money. So you ask yourself, listen, they have no money. They have aging stars, no quarterback. An injury-prone star wide receiver in Chris Olave, who I like, by the way, but he gets hurt a lot. They lost Rashid Shaheed, and he became a Super Bowl champion with the Seahawks. I didn't see what was promising about the Saints job, but he took it. And I don't want to get too far off track, but I was talking to my man Kyrie about this, and I'm like, why wouldn't Kellen Moore want to stick around for another year with this Eagles team and actually wait for a more optimal head coaching opportunity? We saw Brian Johnson a couple years ago. He was up for a lot of jobs. After the Lions made it to the NFC Championship, but they lost. They lost to San Fran. Remember that? He could have got a head coaching job then. You know what he said? He said, nah, I don't really like the field right now. I don't really like these opportunities that are out there. He could have went anywhere and became a head coach, but he said, no, I'm going to run it back with this team. Not just because they're talented and they're good, but also because I don't like the opportunities that are in front of me. I don't like the field. I don't like the job market right now. And he ultimately ended up with a Chicago Bears team that's been drafting well, that had money, that had the young quarterback, that put the money in the right places. He look where he made it to the divisional round. The sky's the limit for Chicago. As long as Caleb Williams continues to develop and Brian John, that running game is phenomenal. So you bring it back to Kellen Moore, why wouldn't he want to stay? Because all money ain't good money. And sometimes I look at Kellen Moore like, bro, are you simple or are you dumb? He didn't have to take that Saints job because there was nothing remotely attractive about that job. There was nothing attractive about that job. Nothing. Like the New Orleans Saints, who did they end up drafting in the first round? Let me see this. Let me see this real quick. The Saints ended up drafting Kelvin Banks with the 9th overall pick in 2025. They drafted Tyler Show in the 2nd round at quarterback. Vernon Broughton. None of these guys, Jonas Sanker, a safety, Danny Stutzman at linebacker, Quincy Riley at corner, Devin Neal at running back. Like, none of these picks. This was, and look, Kelvin Banks, he's a young offensive lineman. He's young, and he played in 17 games this year. 95% of the snaps, he was healthy. He wasn't a bad pick. He wasn't a bad pick, don't get me wrong. He's an offensive lineman. It wasn't a bad pick, but I'm like, Kellen Moore, you need to make a splash. You need to make a splash. You took this job, and let's be honest, you think the Saints are going to give you 3, 4, 5 years to figure it out? I don't think so. I would have took Shador before I took Tyler Shaw. At least that would have brought excitement. But again, I say Kellen Moore took the Saints job, got away from the Eagles job, a job that he thrived in, and he could have continued to elevate his profile and write his own ticket. Think about the job market that's available now. Think about the jobs that were just available. Who were all the recent coaching hires this year? The Titans hired a head coach this year. Like, it was so many head coaching jobs during the 2026 offseason than it was in the 2025 offseason. He could have ran it back one more year, but that begs the question, why not? Did he want to get away from Nick Sirianni, or did he just want to write his own ticket? Did he want to be the captain of his own ship? There was nothing remotely sexy about that Saints job. Nothing. That looked like the kind of job you take when you just want that job. You don't care about the building. You don't care about the infrastructure. You don't care about if the bathroom works. You don't care. You don't care. All you care about is you got that title. TDK says he wanted to strike while the iron was hot. Listen, Brian Johnson made it to an NFC Championship game, lost, blew it, made it to a divisional round game against the Commanders, they blew it. And he still got the best job damn near on the market at that time. So I'm not buying the whole striking while the iron is hot. You just won the Super Bowl. Let's just say they come up winning the Super Bowl, right? He stays and they make it to a divisional round or a conference championship, they lose. He's still an attractive head coaching option, in my opinion. The Ravens job was available. The Bills job ended up being available. The Titans job ended up being available. What else? Oh man, I feel like I'm missing some. The Giants job was available. What else? The point is, I just don't. The point is, you guys, the Eagles are going to always be in this weird position when it comes to OCs. Miami got a new, Miami, same thing. Steelers, dog, look at those organizations that he could have got the job with. But because he was eager, for whatever reason, he decided to take the Saints job. Is that an indictment on Nick Sirianni? I think at the end of the day, because the Eagles are always in this OC search, it's always going to be an indictment on Nick Sirianni. The Raiders, another job. Now, I don't know how attractive the Raiders job is, but the point is, it's a job. I think Shawn Mannion He's a young guy. Just last year, he was a quarterback's coach. And I think the year prior to that, he was like an offensive assistant or something like that. Let me make sure I got this right here. He was an offensive assistant in 2024 with Green Bay, became the quarterback's coach in 2025, and now he's the Eagles' offensive coordinator in 2026. That's a big leap for a guy who doesn't have much coaching experience, but he's a guy who's been in the league for over a decade, and he's been on NFL sidelines. He's somebody that Matt LaFleur respected, wanted to give him a job, wanted him on his staff. We saw Jordan Love improve from an efficiency standpoint. He's still battled injury, but Jordan Love, this probably was his most efficient season. We saw him elevate Malik Willis. So now you got Jalen Hurts, a Super Bowl champion, a Super Bowl MVP, a former Pro Bowler and All-Pro. Jalen Hurts is somebody that people like to act like he can't play. They love to discount his ability and say that he's just a glorified running back. That's what they love to say. That's where the jokes come in. But the reality is Jalen Hurts has proven that you can win with him. He's proven that. He's proven that if you give him the opportunity, if you give him the weapons like every team is trying to do, let's not get cute about it either. Every team is trying to put enough weapons around their quarterbacks. You see, they got y'all thinking that the struggle bus is how you get your respect. Like, we give more respect to guys who they put all the pressure on to get it done and they can't get it done versus the guy who is given weapons and gets it done. That's the truth. We praise Josh Allen because he can do the heavy lifting. Heavy lifting isn't sustainable. Heavy lifting isn't sustainable. We know that, right? We give so much respect to guys like Josh Allen because they can do the heavy lifting. They can carry your offense. Why would you want your quarterback to do that? If anything, you want your star quarterback to be able to take over on those big moments. I can see that now. You want him to be able to make the plays in the big moments. But why would you want your star quarterback to carry you from beginning all the way to the finish line where the margin of error is so slim? Why would you want that? I don't believe in that. I believe in working smarter, not harder. So for Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie to build around Jalen Hurts, to invest in Jalen Hurts, to develop Jalen Hurts, and now they've won with Jalen Hurts, why would they think they need to go elsewhere? That's why I never understand the conversation around Jalen Hurts. I never understand this, oh, he's on a hot seat. They got to put pressure on him. The more Jalen Hurts throws, the worse the Eagles are. That's how Colin Cowherd talks. The more you let Jalen Hurts throw, the worse your offense is. That's just not the truth. Not the truth. Now, if you build it a certain way, you should play a certain way. The Eagles are a power run football team. RPOs, play action. Jalen Hurts is dual threat. That's his style. I don't think Jalen Hurts wants to throw the ball 40 times a game. I don't think he does. As a matter of fact, I don't think any quarterback does. And the reality is, doing the Jalen Hurts' way, and that is by being a balanced offense, it won him a Super Bowl. It won him a Super Bowl. By being balanced, knowing how to delegate, having players to get a ball to. Hey, Saquon is having a spectacular year. Hey, get out the way. Get out the way. You know how many? There's so many quarterbacks that wanted to be them. That's another thing too. We don't talk about quarterback ego enough. There's a lot of quarterbacks. They want to be the reason. They want to be the reason. They want to carry it all on their shoulders. Can't get nowhere in life like that. You need help. So you bring in Shawn Mannion because Nick Sirianni definitely needs help with this offense. And again, as much as I like Nick Sirianni, as much as I like him, he's not one of the top offensive minds in football. And I don't know if he ever will be. And I don't know how sustainable it is over the long term. I mean, we've been here, 5 years with Nick Sirianni? 5 playoff appearances, 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 Super Bowl win. It's not bad math. It's not a bad ratio. But for 5 straight seasons under Nick Sirianni, you've had 4 different offensive coordinators. 4. And I believe Shawn Mannion will be the 5th. So we're entering year 6 in the Nick Sirianni era, and already 5 different offensive coordinators, 5 different ones. My thing is, can you bring the best out of these guys? Can you bring the best out of Saquon Barkley? Can you bring the best out of Jalen Hurts? Can you bring the best out of DeVonta Smith? Can you bring the best out of AJ Brown? Hopefully, if he's here. AJ Brown is trolling a lot on these podcasts. You know, he's playing with Charlie Motions right now. And whatever, I'm at a point now where, like, I want AJ Brown here. I think AJ Brown is one of the best receivers in football. I think AJ Brown is a top 5, top 7 receiver in football today. He had a down year. I think he was battling injuries this year. I don't think he was fully healthy. He looked a tick slower to me. A tick. I'm not going to over-exaggerate. He looked a tick slower to me. He didn't look as explosive this year to me. That's just my opinion. Maybe you guys agree or disagree. But I want AJ Brown here because I still feel like AJ Brown is one of the top 10 best receivers in this game. I believe that. And some may argue top 5, but these young guys are coming along. Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's here. He's here. You feel what I'm saying? When Malik Neighbors gets healthy, we know how good he is, right? We know how good Jamar Chase is, right? You know, Puka Nacua, we know how good he is. We know. George Pickens, good. Right? Amon-Ra St. Brown, we know how good he is. Like that wide receiver position, there's talent there. A lot of it. A lot of it. Justin Jefferson had a bit of a down year, but he ain't had good quarterback play in a couple years. Jameson Williams, Nico Collins. Ted McMillan is coming. Ted McMillan is here. Emeka Ibuka, here. These young guys is here. Listen, Emeka Ibuka, Ted McMillan, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Puka Nacua, Malik Neighbors. I'm naming just young guys who are like year 2, year 3 guys. Like, so the field is getting more crowded with the talented wide receivers. And AJ Brown is what? How old is AJ Brown? 28? Let me double check this. How old is AJ Brown? 28. He's 28. And he'll be 29 when the season starts. AJ Brown, in theory, is on the tail end of his physical prime. Because we know once guys get over 30, that's where things get a little hit or miss. That's the truth. AJ Brown is on the downside of his prime. Not saying he's not. I think he's still in his prime, but I think AJ Brown is on the downside of his prime. And I don't think that's blasphemous to say. You guys tell me. I don't think that's blasphemous to say that A.J. Brown is on the downward hill, the downward side of his prime. He's going to be 29 before the season starts. We'll see. Miss Fanny with the super chat. Thank you, Miss Fanny. She says, quote, in order to make big changes, you have to change things in a big way. That's Rocky Balboa. I stand with Rocky. Miss Fanny, first of all, I'm digging the cowboy hat, sis. I'm digging that. So, yeah. Sometimes you gotta swing for the fences. Sometimes you gotta shake things up. The Eagles have been doing it one way for the past 4 years, 5 years. You know, when they brought in Kellen Moore, an outside voice, it shook things up a bit. And then they thought, okay, let's give Nick one more chance to elevate somebody from within. And it didn't work. That's the second time it didn't work. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on me. And Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie are saying, shame on us. Shame on us. Everybody has their limitations. Everybody has their limitations. We give Nick Sirianni for seeing Shane Steichen for what he was. We give him credit for that. Shane Steichen and Nick Sirianni are connected from a career standpoint. With the Colts, right? With the Chargers, they're connected. So I give credit to Nick Sirianni for seeing Shane Steichen's talent. Shane Steichen became a head coach with the Colts, and I think he did a good job this year. They just got hit with the injury bug on the back end and couldn't really get out of it. They were the hottest thing moving until Daniel Jones got hurt. That's the truth. And ended up not even making the playoffs. But Nick Sirianni, he fumbled the Brian Johnson situation. And I don't even think Brian Johnson was the worst, but those last 4 games of the year, yeah, not a good look. For Brian Johnson, that is. And then he fumbled the Kevin Patullo hire. So he's what? 1 for 3? They're not going to let Nick Sirianni elevate from somebody that came in with him. That's over with. That's over with. The days of seeing Nick Sirianni hire one of his compadres is done. That's done. Remember, Brian Johnson came in with Nick Sirianni. He was the quarterback coach for Hurts. And then Brian Johnson, it didn't work. Kevin Patullo came in with Nick Sirianni. They go back to the Colts days. Didn't work. Kellen Moore, an outside voice, an outside perspective. Super Bowl, it worked. Now you bring in Shawn Mannion. Young guy, by the way. Both Kellen Moore and Shawn Mannion were former quarterbacks. Young guys who got the fast track to the coaching ranks, who elevated quickly. I think Kellen Moore was like a quarterback coach for one season. Then the next season, he was a OC. It was crazy. It was crazy how Kellen Moore elevated. Kellen Moore, his first year out of the league, he becomes the Cowboys quarterback coach. Then he gets elevated to OC, and he was the OC for Dallas for 3 years. No, 4 years. 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. He was an OC for 4 years in Dallas. So I guess when you put it in perspective, when you look at Kellen Moore's career, actually, from an OC standpoint, he was an OC for 6 years. Yeah, I could see you wanting to be a head coach after being an OC for 6 years. I can see that. But you're young, though. You're young. You're 37. You didn't have to rush to be a head coach, but it is what it is. But you bring Shawn Mannion in. Outside voice, outside perspective. We're going to find out what that means. Kakakorski with the $5 super chat. Thank you. Says, Tone, I'm hearing Drew Rosenhaus and Roseman having dinner at St. Elmo's in Indy about Phillips and Carter. Oh, Drew Rosenhaus represents Jalen Phillips and Jalen Carter, huh? Damn. They're going to try to whack Howie. They're going to try to whack him over the head. Damn. How much I think Jalen Carter's worth? Let me give y'all some perspective, though. Let me see. I'm going to pull up some NFL contracts, some average salaries. Let me see here. All right. When it comes to the interior defensive lineman, you got Chris Jones making $31.7 million. You got Milton Williams, $26 million. Milton Williams is the second highest paid D tackle in football. You got Zach Allen. Let me try to make this more specific. Hold on. Okay, all right. Anyway, for interior defensive lineman, you got Zach Allen making $25.5. Namadi Matabuki for Baltimore making $24.5. Aleem McNeil with Detroit making $24.2. Derek Brown with Carolina, $24. Quinyon Williams making $24. Jeffrey Simmons of Tennessee, $23.5. DeForest Buckner with the Colts, $23. Deron Payne making $22.5. Dexter Lawrence making $21.8. Leonard Williams of the Seahawks making $21.5. And I'm going to stop there. That's the top 12. That's the top 12. And I'm telling you guys right now, they're going to give, or Jalen Carter is going to command close to $30 million a season. Now, I'll tell you this, though. That contract is going to be laced. It's going to be laced with contingencies and incentives. Because as talented as Jalen Carter is somebody that you got to keep your eye on. You got to keep your eye on Jalen Carter. You got to. You got to. He's Jalen Carter can be a wild card. Let me see here. Trenton Wright says, I'd extend JD before Carter. Wow, you'd give Jordan Davis the money over Jalen Carter. Big Dog 5215 says, Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter for $50 million split in some way between them. Now, I'll tell you this, though. Jordan Davis, the way he played this year, the stock went up. The price went up. I'm telling you that right now. The Jordan Davis price went up. The Jordan Davis price went up this year. He was the Eagles' best D tackle from beginning to end. This year, he was the best D tackle for the Eagles. Now, Jalen Carter battled some injuries, and he got surgery, but I think Jalen Carter is the better talent. But Jordan Davis, man, he has closed that distance. I'm still going to say Jalen Carter over Jordan Davis. I'm still going to say that. But man, we all got to admit that Jordan Davis closed the distance. He closed the gap. As a matter of fact, let's put a poll up. Let's make it interesting here. I want to find out what you guys think about this. Did Jordan Davis close the gap on Jalen Carter? I need to know what y'all think. Did Jordan Davis close the talent gap? Because again, I'm still going to choose. If I had to choose, gun to my head, who are you paying? I'm going Jalen Carter. I am. Big Dog 5215 says, LOL, Tone, you called me crazy earlier in the season when I said that you was on with OG. When I said, wait, what'd you say, Big Dog? Remind me what you said. Because I think I remember what you're talking about, but remind me what you said. Refresh my, because I think I remember our conversation. I don't remember exactly what you were saying. So just remind me a little bit. Ray Bailey says, I think the spitting incident with Dak helped us a little bit with the negotiations with JC. Oh, by what? Ray, helped us? Bro, him spitting on Dak Prescott had to knock off like $3 million off the deal. It had to. Him spitting on Dak had to drop at least $2 or $3 million off that deal. Had to, bro. Or at least it had to drop something off the guaranteed dollars. It had to. All right, let me see here. Let me see what y'all got so far. 16 votes. 75% of you guys said yes, Jordan Davis did close the talent gap. 24% of you guys say no, Jordan Davis did not close the talent gap on Jalen Carter. And we got over 120 people in this stream. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. You know, I do want to get y'all perspective on this. Did he close the talent gap? Did he? TDK says, I'm not going to say he closed the gap over a healthy Jalen Carter, but he's gotten closer. So he closed the gap. TDK, you know you answered it, right? You know you gave your opinion just now. You know you did. You gave your opinion without giving your opinion. TDK. Closing the gap doesn't mean that they're neck and neck. It just means that the gap closed a bit. That's all. You gave me your answer, TDK. You did. You said I'm not going to say he closed the gap over a healthy Jalen Carter, but he's gotten closer. I'm not saying he's better. I'm not saying that, you know. I'm just saying if the gap was if this was the gap, right? Did he close it a bit? You feel what I'm saying? If this is Jalen Carter and this is Jordan Davis, did Jordan Davis close the gap? Shopping with 7 says Jalen Carter has been good since he's been here. Jordan Davis been like this for 1 year. Fair enough. And I will say, coming into the season, Big Dog 5 says, Tone, you called me crazy early in the season when I said that you was on. Okay, you stay answer for me. Shopping with 7 says Jalen Carter has been good since he's been here. Jordan Davis been like this for 1 year. I think that's a reasonable statement. I also think that I've been one to say Jordan Davis has all the potential in the world if he can get his conditioning together. And I was also one to say, if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles, I don't know if I'm picking up his option. Now, ultimately, they did pick up his fifth-year option. Ultimately, they did. So Now Jordan Davis is going into a contract year. Jordan Davis is now in a contract year. He's going to be a free agent in 2027. So we're going to find out really quickly what the Eagles are going to do with this. We're going to find out. Let me get to the rest of these super chats. Kyle Kokorski, thank you. I read this one already. That's actually what sparked the conversation. Miss Linda, thank you for locking in with the super chat. She says, "Hey Tone, glad you're here doing the show, Mr. Shows." Thank you, Miss Linda. I really do appreciate you. Thank you. Always good to see my diehard Eagles fans that are women, especially Black women. I love to see it. 24 Birds. Thank you for the super chat. He said, "Respect, brother." As always, is respect. Let's see what we got here. Trenton Wright with the super chat. Thank you, my guy. He says, "Keep doing your thing, Tone. Appreciate your work." Thank you, Trenton. I really do appreciate it, man. I've been doing you guys a disservice, so I'm gonna do my best to get back on the horse, man. Thank you guys so much. All right, let's see here. Trenton says, "I'm worried Carter might come into camp out of shape again." That's another thing that has been talked about. We haven't really talked about that. We crucified Jordan Davis for coming into camp out of shape 2 years in a row. We criticized Jordan Davis for coming into camp and coming into the season out of shape. We criticized him. Jalen Carter was out of shape this year. He was out of shape this year. And that's what makes it even crazier, though. He was out of shape this year, and he only played 11 games, and somehow still made the Pro Bowl. I don't know how he did that, but he was a second-team All-Pro last year, or Pro Bowler last year. Like, he got a sack in the playoffs. Like, we know when Jalen Carter is on, he's on. But he cannot come in the season out of shape. That can't happen. That cannot happen. We have to see a much better Jalen Carter this year. Jalen Carter is an elite talent, but I think Jordan Davis has worked harder since being here. Kenzo Johnson Johnson says JD is really dependent on the coverage JC gets. Yo, he played with Kenzo this year. He proved that he can ball out without JC. He proved that. Jalen Carter only played 11 games this year. Jordan Davis, on the other hand, he played in all 17 games, all 16 games? Yeah. Jordan Davis played in all 17 games this year. This was a career year for him. Jordan Davis hasn't missed a game since his rookie year. Let's put that in perspective. He hasn't missed a single game since his rookie year. He's played in all 17 games for 3 consecutive seasons. So he has health on his side. He's in shape. He's trending up. Jalen Carter has to get back in trending up mode. Now, I think Jalen Carter's ceiling is probably higher in the end, but at the end of the day, hard work beats talent. And Jordan Davis is closing that gap a bit. He's closing it after the season. You got to start looking at Jordan Davis a little bit differently. You have to. And he's shown that he's a better leader, a more vocal leader. He's shown that too. He's shown that he's more reliable, more dependable. Jalen Carter spit on Dak in the beginning of the season. He was battling the shoulder injury throughout the season as well. I know what Jalen Carter is from a talent standpoint. That's not a debate. But Jordan Davis proved that he can ball out without Jalen Carter. That was the proof for me. That was the proof. That was clear as day this year. Kenzel Johnston says, "I'm ready to talk drafting players. Got some names for you." Oh yeah, who you thinking about? Who you thinking about, Kenzel? Who you thinking about? Antonio Holmes says only Eagles fans pit Davis and Carter against each other. I hope it don't come off like that's what I'm doing, because I think the original super chat that got this conversation going was by my man Kokorski. He said, "Tone, I'm hearing Drew Rosenhaus and Roseman are having dinner at St. Elmo's in Indy about Phillips and Carter, Jalen Phillips and Jalen Carter." And then at that point, I brought up how much Jalen Carter is worth, how much I think he's gonna get paid, and he's going to get close. He's going to get paid close to $30 million. He's going to get paid close to $30 million. He is. And then we started talking about Jordan Davis and all that kind of stuff. But I hope that's not how it's coming off for me. I actually want both of these brothers to get paid somehow, some way. I want both of these guys on a team. I know it's going to be difficult when you got Cooper DeJean back there entering year 3. You got Quinyon Mitchell entering year 3. And now the money is going to start coming into effect. And the Eagles got to make some hard decisions. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. You cannot pay everybody. You cannot pay everybody. It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge to keep all these players. Let's really think about this, right? Let's think about that Eagles defense. And let's just talk about young guys who didn't get their second contract yet. Let's talk about it from that perspective. Let's talk about young guys who didn't get to that second contract. And this is in no particular order. You got Nakobe Dean. You got Nolan Smith. You got Jordan Davis. You got Jalen Carter. You got Jalix Hunt. You got Quinyon Mitchell. You got Cooper DeJean. Those are 7 players on your defense who all started for you. All were starters. And you cannot pay all of them. Jihad Campbell. Right? Now, Jihad is entering year 2, but you know what I mean. And some of these guys are not going to be here. That's gonna be the sad reality. And if I'm being honest with you, matter of fact, let me ask y'all a question. And I think this talking about the have with y'all is a little bit more challenging than it appears. I think the conversation I'm about to have with y'all is about to really, really, really challenge y'all thought process. And by the way, just looking at the poll here, just revisiting the poll, 65% of you believe Jordan Davis has closed the talent gap on Jalen Carter, and 35% of you say no. That's on 43 votes. All right. I'm about to ask you guys another question. And this might get y'all fighting here. Follow me here. Y'all gonna really hate me for this one, but hey. I need to know. Jalen Hunt had a phenomenal season this year. Phenomenal. Nolan Smith had a really great 2024 season, but he was hurt this year and didn't really flash or make the plays like Jalen Hunt has. To be honest with you, Jalen Hunt's 2025 season, damn near, Nolan Smith had that run in the playoffs too. We got to make that clear. Nolan Smith had a crazy run in the playoffs too. He did. But that was 2024. The 2025 season happened. Now we're in 2026. There's so many variables that go into it. Talent, versatility, effectiveness, health. Like, I give Nolan credit. He had 4 sacks in the playoffs last year or in 2024, 2025. He had 4 sacks in the playoffs, 6 in the regular season. That's a big deal. He went crazy in the playoffs. But Jalen Hunt, slowly but surely, has been bubbling. He's been bubbling. In 2025, Jalen Hunt played in 17 games, had 3 interceptions, one of them being a pick 6, 2 forced fumbles, 6.5 sacks, 9 TFLs with 52 total tackles, and 24 quarterback hits. Nolan Smith's best season, 2024, 16 games played, 2 pass deflections, 1 forced fumble, 6.5 sacks, 11 quarterback hits, 8 TFLs, 42 total tackles. Don't forget, he had the 4 sacks in the playoffs. So, look. Right now, I'm leaning towards Jalen. Right now, I'm personally leaning towards Jalen Hunt. Jalen Hunt didn't just get sacks. He took the ball away. He's way better in coverage than Nolan Smith. Way better. It's not even a question. It's not even a question. Jalen Hunt is significantly better than Nolan Smith in coverage. And I think it's because Jalen Hunt has that experience as a safety. That's what I think. That's what I think it is. Fanny said, not a fair question for me. TDK says the best ability is availability. Kenzel Johnston says Nolan Smith took a back seat after Jalen Phillips came through. But guess what? If he was playing better than Jalen would have took the back seat. You feel what I'm saying? If he was playing better than Jalen would have took the back seat, not Nolan. That says something. That says something. Am I right or am I wrong? That says something. Kenzel says Nolan took a back seat after Jalen Phillips came through. You're right about that. Who didn't take a back seat? Jalen Hunt. Didn't take a back seat. Kyle Kokorski says, this is going to rub people the wrong way, but Nolan Smith is Bryce Huff. No, he's not. No, he's not. No, he's not, bro. Not even close. It's not even close. No, he's not. I'm not. No. Let me see here. Let me go back to this poll, see what you guys see. All right, the survey says when it comes to who gets a contract extension first, 26% of you said Nolan Smith, 74% of you said Jalen Hunt, and this is based off of 27 votes. 27 votes. We got over 100 people in the building. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. I really do appreciate the love and the support. You guys have been fantastic. You guys have been really great. We're going to begin to close the stream out pretty soon, but like I said, I just wanted to get your thoughts, man. I just want to get your thoughts on like Saquon Barkley, co-signing the Shawn Mannion hire. Now, he didn't jump out the window. But he did say that he's super excited about it. He did say it's refreshing. So that says something. It says something. I just think it's going to be super important. It's going to be super important in how A.J. Brown is used. Hopefully he's here. He's doing a lot of trolling right now. It's going to be really interesting to see how I think DeVonta Smith is going to thrive. I think DeVonta is really going to thrive, man. DeVonta is such a phenomenal talent. DeVonta Smith is such a phenomenal player, man. DeVonta Smith is entering year 6? Yeah. DeVonta is entering year 6. He's averaging 1,000 yards per season for his career. 1,000 yards. And all he's done is he's been steady. He's been steady Eddie his entire career, just steady. He's been healthy for the most part. 2024 was probably his least healthiest season, mainly because of that concussion. But other than that, I think DeVonta is going to really eat under Shawn Mannion. He ate. Kakakorski says, Tone, I think we're going to see a lot of free agent edge rushers. Yeah, we are. Look, and again, you can't pay everybody. And Nolan Smith, he's entering. Nolan Smith got drafted in the first round with Jalen Carter. So, yeah, they're going to have to decide. They're going to have to decide if they're picking up his 5th-year option. I think they will, though. Or maybe they won't. I was wrong before when it came to Jordan Davis. Will the Eagles pick up Nolan's 5th-year option? Let me ask you guys, see what y'all think. Because I think Nolan Smith is a good player, but is he good enough to pick up the 5th-year option? He's entering year 4. Young player, has battled injuries, has been in and out of the lineup. Now remember, Jordan Davis, he never was hurt. It was all about conditioning with him. It was all about conditioning. With Nolan, it's never about conditioning. It's about his health. Ian Senior says if he stays healthy. Well, I mean, they got to pick it up this offseason, Ian. So if he stays healthy, that's kind of what you have is what you have. You have to go off what you've seen the past 3 years. You got to go off for that. You got to go off for that because they gotta decide to pick it up this offseason. They can't wait until the end of the 4th year to pick it up. They have to decide, I want to say in April or May, something like that. They gotta decide. Y'all split on this too. 50-50. If I'm looking at Nolan Smith's career right now, played in 17 games in his rookie year, played in 16 games his second year, missed 5 games his third year. Had that breakout season in 2024. 2025 was kind of quiet for him. What makes it interesting is he had the same amount of quarterback hits. So he was getting there but couldn't close the deal. Through 12 games played, he had 3 sacks. You add 5 more games to that, maybe he gets 5 or 6 sacks. You never know. You never know. He wasn't healthy this year. And you can't forget that run in 2024, but what have you done for me lately? What have you done for me lately? And Jalen Hurts, he's entering year 3. So they still got some time to decide. And look, Jalen Hurts, he's not going to have the 5th-year option, obviously. He's not. Like Jalen Hurts has less time. He has less time to prove himself than Nolan Smith does. Cock, of course, he says, Tony, you doing Eddie Murphy skit? What have you done for me lately, Eddie? What have you done for me lately, Eddie? Arthur 26 McQueen says, end of the road for Nolan, unfortunately, because he's very beloved in the locker room. So is Jalen Hurts. Here's the thing, right? If we're going to go off of like the leadership, the vibes, I think Jalen Hurts and Nolan Smith are comparable in that regard. I think Jalen Hurts really took a step forward, not just on the field, but as a leader this year. I think Jalen really took a leap forward as leader this year. They both have similar personalities. They talk different. They carry it different, but I think Jalen Hurts and Nolan Smith are more similar in personality than people think. Like I like Nolan. I love everything about Nolan and his approach. But these questions got to get talked about. These things got to get discussed. Darth Panda says the switch up on Nolan Smith is crazy. He had a lingering issue from the tricep surgery from the Super Bowl. It happens. I'm not including that in his injury-prone history. Look, man. Darth, look. Here's the thing. I receive your perspective. I receive it. Nolan hurt his tricep. Got surgery. Then re-injured the same tricep. That's interesting to me. Now, me personally, obviously, Nolan did what he did in 2024, had the 6.5 sack regular season or 6 sack regular season. No, 6.5, I'm sorry. Had 6.5 sacks in the regular season, had 4 in the playoffs. So he had 10.5 sacks for the 2024-2025 campaign. Forced fumbles, pass deflection at the line of scrimmage. I think Jalen is more versatile, though. I don't think that's a debate. I think Jalen Hurts is more versatile than Nolan. We saw it this year, evidently. We saw Jalen Hunt get into the quarterback and jump back in coverage and taking the ball away and forcing fumbles and pass deflections. Like, I like these players. But eventually, decisions got to be made. They got to make a decision. They got to decide if they're picking up Nolan Smith's option. That's a big deal. Matter of fact, let me look it up. Let me look up the money. Let me see. Let me just look at the money. Okay? If the Eagles decide to pick up his fourth-year option or fifth-year option, by the way, this money is guaranteed. This is guaranteed, by the way. All guaranteed dollars. If the Eagles decide to pick up Nolan Smith's fifth-year option, that's going to be $14.4 million. $14.4 million. Now, how much money do the Eagles have right now? As of right now, according to Spot Rack, the Eagles have $3.6 million in cap space. And they have $53.3 million in dead cap. Darth Panda, Nolan's option is $14.4 million. That's the truth. Jordan Davis's option was $12.9 million. Nolan's is $14.4. That's just production, health, and the money matter. We can't exclude the business of it. Darth Panda says, yeah, but with an extension, that cap hit will drop. That's if they extend them. They got to ask themselves first of all, if they're going to extend him, or let me put it this way. Let's say he stays healthy. Let's just roll with that. Let's roll with that for a second. Let's roll with that. Because, again, I don't want you guys to think I'm against Jordan. Well, not Jordan Davis. I don't want you guys to think I'm against Nolan Smith. I'm not. But I think, well, not but, in addition to, I think what happens is if the Eagles pick up his fifth-year option, that means that they believe that they're going to pay him at some point. They believe that. And again, we're operating from the perspective of if he stays healthy. If he stays healthy. Right? Picking up the option typically means that they want to extend the player. Typically. So that's where it begins and ends. And they do believe in developing talent. And it's always cheaper to keep your homeboys at home. Shout out to my man, Coach Marcus. Shout out to my man, Coach Marcus. It's always cheaper to keep your homeboys at home than to go out and find somebody. I think Nolan Smith is a fantastic young talent. He has to stay healthy. I think Jalen Hunt is a fantastic young talent. They found him in the third round out of Houston Christian University. And he's been, dog, last season was nuts what he did. What he did was nuts. He led the team in sacks and interceptions. Like, seriously. Seriously. That may sound crazy to y'all. Jalen Hunt led the team in sacks and interceptions. as an edge rusher. What else needs to be said about that? As a third-round pick. And also, let's pay attention to how Vic Fangio looked. Vic Fangio, every move he made signified that Jalen Hurts is the one I'm leaning on. We're going to see, though. $14.4 million. If they pick it up, that's going to tell us a lot. Like, I don't think Nolan Smith has, as of right now, Nolan Smith has shown that he's a quality rotational edge rusher. That's what he's shown. And this, let's keep it real. We like these players. They went to Georgia. We understand the connection, but let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. Nolan has shown that he is a high-end rotational edge rusher. That's an unbiased, objective opinion. Now, Jalen Hurts, he has to show me more. Now, I'm not going to crown Jalen Hurts off the 1 year. I'm not going to do that. That's one thing I'm not going to do. But he did show his versatility this year. As of right now, I think Jalen Hurts has shown that he is a high-end rotational edge rusher, low-end starter. Like, let's keep in mind, Nolan Smith's rookie year, he didn't get that many opportunities. So that's a wash for me. I don't really put that first season on Nolan. That's a wash. He didn't get that many opportunities. His second season, he got the opportunities and he balled out. His third season, the tricep gave out and he missed a lot of games. Still gave you 3 sacks. Jalen Hurts first season, he was rotational, got on the field when he could, came on towards the back end of the year. His second season, he was shot out of a cannon. He was shot out of a cannon. I just think Jalen Hurts, he showed me more. I don't know. Like, do you guys agree with that? Disagree with that? Am I tripping when I say that? No, Jalen Hurts showing he can get the sacks and take the ball away. In coverage. That's a big deal. Nolan Smith, he's shown he can get to the quarterback. I love that. He's shown that he could turn up in the playoffs. I love that. That's a big deal. I will say this, though. I don't think it's an easy conversation to have, which is great for both players. I don't think Jalen Hurts versus Nolan Smith is a easy conversation to have. I don't think that's an easy conversation to have, which is a great thing for both players. I'm a fan of both of these guys. I'm a big fan of both of these guys, and I love the way these guys approach the game. But if you're going to ask me from a pure statistical standpoint, which season was better to me? I'm not talking about the Super Bowl or none of that. Let me ask y'all a question. Let me look at this recent survey here. 31 votes, 65% of y'all said the Eagles will pick up Nolan Smith's 5th-year option. 35% of y'all said no. Okay. Let me ask. I'm going to ask you another tough question. Who had the better statistical season? (2024) Nolan Smith or 2025 Jalen Hunt? I think that's a question. I think that's a question right there now. And by the way, Jalen Hunt, 6'3", 252. Nolan Smith, 6'2", 238. Those 14 pounds make a difference. Those 14 pounds make a difference. Let's just call it what it is. Those 14 lbs make a difference. Let me see what y'all talking about so far. All right, 10 votes. 80% of y'all said 2025 Jalen Hunt had the better statistical season. 2024, Nolan Smith gets 20% of the votes. We need more votes, y'all. We got 126 people in the stream. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, man. I really do appreciate the love. Get active, get active, get active. I need y'all opinion on this. I need y'all opinion. We put a survey in the live chat. I need y'all to give your thoughts on this. Who had the better statistical season? Was it 2024 Nolan Smith or 2025 Jalen Hunt? Let's go through the stats real quick. 2024 Nolan Smith. And we're including playoffs. We're including playoffs. We're including playoffs, okay? 2024, Nolan Smith had 10.5 sacks. He had 2 forced fumbles, 2 pass deflections. He had, let's see here, 12 TFLs, 16 quarterback hits. $58 total tackles. Now, Jalen Hunt 2025 season, Jalen Hunt, 6.5 sacks, 3 interceptions, a pick 6, 3 pass deflections, 2 forced fumbles, fumble recovery, 24 quarterback hits, 9 TFLs. Just for the record, by the way, just for the record, just so you guys don't think I'm bullshitting, Jalen Hunt had the same amount of quarterback hits in one season than Nolan Smith had in 3 seasons combined. I'm going to make that clear to you, by the way. At the end of the day, if he was hurt, it counts against him. It counts against him, Linda. He was hurt. It counts against him. In 3 seasons, and now I'm only talking regular season. In 3 regular seasons, Nolan Smith has had 25 quarterback hits. 25 in 3 seasons. Jalen Hunt in 2025, in 1 year, 24 quarterback hits. One Big Sheet says, I'm taking 2024 Nolan. He did it in the playoffs. I'm not mad at you. Not mad at you at all. I get your logic. Ian Senior says Jalen Hunt is low-key a ball hawk. Bro, he is. He attacks the ball and he catches it. That's the thing. He attacks it and catches it. VVSBH says, I'm good off Jalen Phillips and Nolan Smith. We need more production. Yeah, it seemed like Jalen Phillips kind of disappeared a little bit. I mean, he was getting pressure. But Jalen Phillips would have like 1 sack as an Eagle. Make sure I got this right. Jalen Phillips had 2 sacks in the Eagles uniform. 2 sacks. 2 sacks, 4 TFL, 7 quarterback hits. I mean, he kind of, he came out hot, then it kind of just got quiet. Darth Panda says Hunt has that DB history. Can't hold that against Nolan. Doesn't matter, Darth. It doesn't matter. It's in the toolbox. You can definitely hold it against him. It's in the toolkit. We're comparing guys, their production, their health, and what they have in the tool belt. It has to be a part of the conversation. We can't just say, hey, this guy has the DB history, so that means it's not fair for Nolan. No, that gives the argument should be, well, Nolan is a pure edge rusher. He should have the edge against Jalen Hunt. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to penalize a guy because he has more experience doing other things than the other guy. Jalen Hunt converted from a safety to an edge rusher. That's not easy to do. He went from standing up all day to putting one hand in the dirt. Let me look at the votes. I asked you guys who had the better statistical season, and I need more votes, you guys. We got 123 people tuning to the live stream. I need you guys to lock in on these votes, man. So on 25 votes, 68% of y'all said Jalen Hunt, 2025 Jalen Hunt had the better statistical season than 2024 Nolan Smith. And by the way, they're both Super Bowl champions. So we can't say, well, Nolan Smith's best season led to a Super Bowl win, and Jalen Hunt's best season, we was a first-round exit. I don't think it's that simple because both of them were on that Super Bowl team. And we're not going to pretend like Jalen Hunt didn't start going crazy on the back end of the year. I know his stats don't show it, but Jalen Hunt was going crazy in the back end of on the second half of the season for the Eagles, especially when BG got hurt. When BG got hurt, Jalen Hunt had to step up. That's a big deal that people don't talk about that enough because his numbers don't jump off the page. But when BG got hurt, Jalen Hunt had to step up. And Jalen Hunt stepped up in run defense, stepped up in the pass rush, stepped up in coverage. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. And by the way, Jalen Hunt had 1.5 sacks in the playoffs. And I think they all came in the Super Bowl. I think Jalen Hunt had 1.5 sacks in the Super Bowl. So let's keep it funky. As a matter of fact, let's really get specific here. So Jalen Hunt had 0.5 sack in the Super Bowl, and he had 1 sack against the Rams in the playoff run. Nolan Smith, let's see here. Nolan Smith didn't get a sack in the Super Bowl, but he had 2 sacks against Green Bay, 1 against the Rams, 1 against Washington. He didn't have any sacks in the Super Bowl, but he did have 2 quarterback hits. Jalen Hunt had 0.5 sack. He had a sack in the Super Bowl, 0.5 sack, and he had a quarterback hit. So they both turned up in the playoffs. They both turned up in the playoffs. Miss Fanny says, thank you for the super chat, Miss Fanny. She said, there's no guarantee that Hunt can replicate this season. Nolan didn't replicate last season because of injury. I say keep both. How do you I don't know if that's a 1-to-1, but I will say this though, Miss Fanny. Injuries matter. And when a guy can't stay healthy, that goes against them. And I think what Jalen Hunt did in 2025, I think it's very replicable. But I think the one thing you said that was true is that there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees in this sport. There's no guarantees. So at the end of the day, when it comes to that logic, you're right. There's no guarantees. There's no guarantee Nolan Smith is going to be available. There's no guarantee Jalen Hunt is going to be able to replicate what he did from the 2025 season. There's no guarantee Shawn Mannion is going to be the guy. There's no guarantee that the Eagles are going to turn it around. There's no guarantee for none of these things. But guess what? That's why you play the game. And the one thing you can do is give yourself the best position. Put yourself in the best position to win. Put yourself in the best position to be healthy. That's what it comes down to. And remember, I know a lot of people want to forget this. Nolan came into the league hurt. Remember what he said in his press conference? He said, yeah, sometimes the shoulder works, sometimes it don't. Oh, what you mean? What you mean by that? Nolan got hurt in college too. This isn't just random. Nolan Smith has an injury history. That is the truth. I know people don't want to put injury prone on him, but Nolan Smith got hurt in college. He got hurt in college. He got hurt in the league. That's the fact. Jalen Hunt, he's been available. Overall, though, look, Jalen Hunt could get hurt this year. We don't know. But I'll say this, though. Ian Singer, you nailed it. Nolan Smith was a gamble that paid off. You got, so far, you got Nolan Smith's best season, and that best season led to a Super Bowl. You gotta appreciate that. In Nolan Smith's best year, and Jalen Carter's best year, you got Super Bowls out of it. And you feel me? I think the Eagles got a lot of tough decisions to make. They got a lot. It will be interesting to see, though, how it pays off, though. Now, will they pick up the option? I don't know, but I'm leaning towards yes. I'm personally leaning towards yes. All right, so I'm looking at this survey here, and survey says, who had the better statistical season? 27% of you guys said 2024 Nolan Smith. 73% of you guys said 2025 Jalen Hunt. That's on 33 votes. Kyle Kokorski says, Tone, do you think this is the draft where we get younger on offense? Interesting. Because, when you think about that offense now, Lane Johnson is coming back. Landon Dickerson is coming back. Like, we got to Lane Johnson's coming back for that 14th year, baby. Lane Johnson coming back for that 14th year, baby. I think we need to get. I think we need more talent on the offensive line. I think you need more talent at wide receiver. Honestly, I'm curious to see what year 2 Darius Cooper looks like. I have no idea what Darius Cooper's contract even looks like. I'm curious about that. All right, Darius Cooper. Okay. Darius Cooper's under contract, right? And he's under he's going to be a restricted free agent in 2028. So he's secure for at least the next two seasons. But I think Darius Cooper is a player I want to keep developing. I like Darius Cooper a lot. But also you got to load up on the offensive line, man. You got to. I'm looking at our depth chart, right? And I'm saying to myself, hey, yo, I need to see more out of Cameron Williams. I need to see more out of Miles Hinton. Those are 2 offensive tackles the Eagles drafted, and they've been developing. I need to see more. I need to see where Drew Kendall is, right? They got some guys there, but I don't know if Miles Hinton or Cameron Williams is ready to take over. So therefore, I got to go offensive line in this draft heavy. I got to go heavy on it. I got to go heavy at guard, heavy at tackle. I like the depth at center. I like Drew Kendall there. I like Willie Lampkin. But you got to have an exit strategy for Lane Johnson. He's coming back. But will Lane play the whole season? It all remains to be seen. He's going to have plenty of rest. How many games Lane played? Like 9? Lane played 10 games. He played 10 games this year. I don't know if Lane Johnson has a 17-game season in him. I don't know if Lane Johnson has a 20 or 21-game season in him. I don't know that. Bergang Bully says, with Stout being gone, does it force a first-round pick on O-line? Ooh. I've been thinking about that too, Bergang. I've been thinking about that. You know, this new offensive line coach, this new offensive line coach, Chris Cooper, he used to coach the Minnesota Vikings. We'll see what he does. We'll see what he does, man. But if I'm the Eagles, you ain't got Stoutland there no more. You ain't got Stoutland there no more. So that's a good question, Bergang Bully. I might got to think about that because I got to think more about it because I have been thinking about that. And they're going to be picking at what? Let me see here. What is it? Tankathon. Let's see. All right. The Eagles are going to be picking at pick 23, which is a weird spot to be in, frankly. It's not really an optimum spot. But pick 23. And the Cowboys got 2 first-round picks. That's crazy. One at 12, one at 20. That's a come up for them. I cannot front. That is a come up. That is a come up if you ain't seen one. The NFL Combine's coming up too. Bird Gang Bully says, because we never stressed O-line because of him, because he can polish a diamond in dirt. Yeah. Yeah, this was Jeff Stalin's worst year by far. He had no answers. He had no answers, man. All right, let me see here. All right. The 2026 NFL Draft. Let's see what we got here. Ruben Bain at edge. Caleb Downs, safety. Jeremiah Love, running back. Fernando Mendoza, quarterback. Francis Magoa, I guess you would say, tackle. Arvell Reese, linebacker. Mansour Delane, corner. Jermon McCoy, corner. Carnell Tate, wide receiver. David Bailey, edge. Jordan Tyson, wide receiver. Spencer Fano, offensive tackle. Let me look at the offensive lineman. All right. The top offensive lineman, you got Francis Magoa, Spencer Fano, Caden Proctor, Oliver Vega Ione, Caleb Lomu, Emmanuel Pregnon, Jake Slaughter, Monroe Freeling, Jennings Dunker, Caleb Tarian, Blake Miller, Connor Liu. Fannie Williams says Caden Proctor is Evan Neal 2.0. No, I'm sorry. Darth Panda said that. Excuse me. Darth Panda said that. My bad. My bad, y'all. Darth Panda says Caden Proctor is Evan Neal 2.0. That's crazy. And Evan Neal is not good. He is not good at all. Or at least hasn't lived up to the expectation of being a top, 10 pick? Kyle Kokorski says Steffen's a good interior. Let me see here. I'm not seeing that guy. I haven't come across him yet. Oh, Bo Steffens. Bo Steffens out of Iowa. I see him now. 6'5", 315. He's a guard. Okay. Man, it's a lot of Iowa offensive linemen, man. Logan Jones, Bo Steffens. You got Isaiah World out of Oregon. You got Emmanuel Pregnon out of Oregon. Yo, that Iowa offensive line is going. Jennings Dunker out of Iowa. Logan Jones out of Iowa. Bo Steffens out of Iowa. Man. Bird Gang Bully says, I wouldn't be mad at O-line at 23, depending on who we bring back. I wouldn't lie. I wouldn't be mad either. I wouldn't be mad either. Right? Like, what? You went Jahad Campbell last draft, and then you went Quinyon Mitchell in the first round of the previous draft. And then prior to that, it was what? Jalen Carter. So, yeah, the Eagles' first round draft history is Jahad Campbell in the first round, Quinyon Mitchell in the first round in 2024, 2023, Jalen Carter, 2022, Jordan Davis, 2021, DeVonta Smith. They've been on a run. In the first round in the past 4 years. Well, in the past 5 draft classes. The past 5. You got Jahad Campbell in 2025. You got Quinyon Mitchell in 2024. You got Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith in 2023. Jordan Davis 2022. DeVonta Smith 2021. That's a remarkable hit rate. You were 6 for 6. You went 6 for 6. You went 6 for 6, and 5 of them were SEC guys. 5 of them. You went 6 for 6 in the first round in the past 5 drafts. 5 of them were SEC guys. And Quinyon Mitchell just shocked the world coming out of Toledo. Quinyon Mitchell was a top 5 corner in this league. Top 5 corner in this league. I stand on that. But you went 6 for 6 in the first round these past 5 years, 5 of them SEC. I think if the Eagles go offensive line in the first round, I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't even be mad, bro. I would not be mad. Let me see. Vandy says, how are we going outside the SEC again? Kyle Kokorski says, March 1st is O-line day. Eagles going to be attending that. Oh, for sure. For sure. Sure, I'm going to be watching the combine. Hopefully I can catch it, actually. I might be working. Oh, let's see. Which King of Angmar says, how do we feel about the new line coach? He has experience. He looks like a no-nonsense kind of guy. He's a former player, which helps. Right? He's a former player. That's always reassuring. That's always reassuring, you guys. I can't lie about that. What's his name again? Let me double check his name. His name is Chris Cooper. All right, Chris Cooper. All right, it says Chris Cooper, 43 years old. Went to North Dakota. Was drafted in the 2006 NFL Draft in the 5th round, 161st overall. Played for the Denver Broncos for 8 seasons. Yep, 8 seasons. Was the offensive line coach at Columbine High School in 2015. Was an offensive quality control coach for the Miami Dolphins in 2016. Was an assistant offensive line coach for the Miami Dolphins in 2017 and 2018. Was an assistant offensive line coach for the Denver Broncos from 2019 to 2021. That's 3 seasons. And then became the offensive line coach for the Minnesota Vikings from 2022 to 2025. That's 4 seasons. And now he's in Philadelphia. Now he's in Philadelphia for the Eagles as the offensive line coach. So he's paid his dues. He's paid his dues. He has a ton of experience playing the position and coaching the position. He's coached the position at the high school level, and he was able to get into the NFL level by being a player, having the connections, and he worked his way up in the NFL. I mean, since 2016, he's been grinding. This is 10 years in the making. This is 10 years in the making. He's been grinding. He was an offensive line coach at Columbine High School in 2015. Yes, we all know about Columbine. We know what happened. Look, y'all, I'm optimistic. That may sound crazy. I know a lot of people feel like that's not sexy to say. That doesn't move the needle. But overall, I'm pretty optimistic about this staff, man. I really am. They're younger. You listen, Stout was an OG, and we're not gonna sit here and act like he don't know his stuff. He knows his stuff. But they got younger on that staff. That entire offensive coach staff got younger. Chris Cooper is 43 years old. Jeff Stoutland is what, 67, 64? You know, you got younger there. Not that age is the biggest deal, but you got younger. You got younger at OC, pass game coordinator. You got you got Josh Grizzard there. That entire staff overall got younger. I'm optimistic. You got talent. That's the thing, you guys. You got talent. The Eagles have talent. You know, there's teams who are struggling just to find the talent. They're struggling to put the pieces together. We got the puzzle pieces. We just need the right person. And we're going to find out if Shawn Mannion is that guy. I'm going to be really curious to see how he uses Saquon Barkley and how they craft this running game. Because remember, Howie and Jeffrey Lurie, they're not playing. They're not playing. They're not new to this. They know how to build teams. They know how to hire the right people. They do. They do. Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie have a stronger hiring record than most people. Everybody not going to pan out. But they swung for the fences and they say, you know what? If we're going to take this offense in a new direction and get more voices in the building, or at least try to get a fresh voice, if we're going to do it, let's do it. That is new O-line coach, new pass game coordinator, new OC, new quarterback coach. Let's do it. You got the talent. We know Cam Jurgens is better than what he showed us. We know Landon Dickerson is better than what he showed us. We know Mailata is better than what he showed us. We know Lane Johnson, when healthy, is one of the best in the game. You know, Tyler Steen, I think he's still going to have to battle for that position. We'll see if anybody's going to push him. I don't think there's anybody on the roster that can push him right now. We'll find out if the Eagles draft somebody, and we'll see. But, dog, you got DeVonta Smith, A.J. Brown. Hopefully he's still here. You know, Dallas Goedert is a free agent, so we don't know what that's going to look like. You still got Saquon Barkley. Still got Tank Bigsby in the backfield as well. Jalen Hurts at quarterback. I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to sit here and say that the Eagles are in the worst position because that's what people want you to think. A lot of people don't have high expectations out of the Eagles this year. They don't. And that's okay. But I'll tell you this. It's not going to be a talent issue. It's not going to be a talent issue. I'll tell you that right now. It's not going to be a talent problem. And I'll leave it at that. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Shout out to Kataya's mom, gifting 5 Chalk It Up Sports memberships. Thank you, Kataya. I really do appreciate you. It means a lot to me. We're going to close this show out. Again, I really do appreciate you guys for locking in. Smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, man. I don't take it for granted not one bit. So make sure you guys stay locked in. Continue to support. And I'm going to do my best to get to you guys more than just once a week for our Bald Eagles podcast, okay? All right. So make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. I appreciate y'all. I've been your humble host, Tone DeShields II. You guys have been locked into your dose of Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to trust to the game.